Oh my gosh.
I want to do events as well there.
Yes. Yes.
Bring it on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have previous Calvin?
I didn't go to Calvin. I went to Olivet Nazarene University, which is South Chicago.
Chicago Bears on training camp before.
That's true. We got Tempur-Pedic mattresses because the Chicago Bears would. Yeah.
What?
That was a perk. I know. Because they would practice there and sleep there, and we all got it.
They do not train there anymore.
No, they don't.
They did it for forever.
Yeah.
I just the other day ran into that university, not literally,
Right.
because Capella's going to take a little tour.
Yeah.
And somebody reached out to me and they are also adjunct.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I did theater there and choir there and great music. And yeah.
But not as good as Calvin.
The last church teacher.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
started. So welcome everybody. I think I've met most of you and we've had the privilege of knowing each other for a bit, but if not, my name is Jeff Haverdank and I have the honor of serving as Calvin's Executive Director of Alumni and Family Engagement. And just want to welcome everybody here to our fall annual heritage event we call the Corner of Campus. It's a delight to do this. We've done it for many years where we kind of feature various areas of Calvin University, and we're excited today to share a lot of square inches here in the fine art space. So really excited to tell you more about some of the great momentum that's building in this part of Calvin's campus. I want to simply say a couple things here. We have actually quite a large turnout today, but about 3/4 of you are watching online. So we are live streaming this around the world, and we've got quite an audience that's watching us from all points on campus. So I want to welcome all of those who are joining us remotely. We're glad that you can be a part of this today, and we're excited to make this available to you wherever you might be. So I have a couple of quick things for our online friends. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentations, and we would love to have you be a part of that question and answer session. As you're watching this with us right now, you're watching on the YouTube platform, and there are two things that you need to do in order to be able to ask questions. The first thing you need to do is to sign into the YouTube page. So if you look on your screen, top right corner, you will see a little circle, and that would be where you have to log in. You could use a Gmail account or whatever email you have to sign up. So log into the YouTube page, and then you will see an oval-shaped subscribe button. You need to subscribe or follow Calvin University. And when you do both of those things, it will allow you to ask questions in the chat feature. Sounds like a lot of work, and it is a bit, but that is a security feature to keep all of the bots out of our chat, and it's a safety thing for Calvin. So log into YouTube, subscribe to follow Calvin University, and then we have staff in the audience here who will be watching the questions come in, and we'll ask them on your behalf. So just wanted to make sure our friends online could be a part of that later today. But we're glad you're here. Okay, so now on to the show. Just want to explain how this will play out this morning. We are going to hear from each of our three guests individually. They're going to share a few minutes about their particular area of Calvin and have some slides to go with that. So we'll invite each one of our guests to come up without introduction. They'll just flow up here in order. We'll hear from all of them, and then the four of us will gather back on stage at the end and do some question and answer time together. So keep your questions in your mind. We'd love to have a lot of audience participation. I'm counting on the Heritage class to make that a fun, robust conversation after. So we'll do presentations, come back up here for Q&A, and it'll be a nice time together. So by brief way of introduction, our panelists will tell you about themselves, but I just want to thank John Stritchfield, who is our artistic director, a part of the Calvin Theater Company. Will tell us a lot about the theater programs at Calvin. Christine Vermeer, she is our Studio Associates and Arts Collective Coordinator, relatively recent grad of Calvin, so we're grateful that she's now here on staff with us. And then maybe one of our newer hires, I think, in this part of the world, but Mark Stover is our Director of Choral Activities, part of the Department of Visual and Performing Arts. If you were here for the Fall Music Festival, you got to see Mark in action conducting a few of our choral programs, which was outstanding. So grateful for each of these three people to be with us today. Looking forward to hearing about a lot of great work that's happening in our arts program here at Calvin. So we're excited to be able to share this with the Heritage class. So without further ado, I want to invite John up here to start and come tell us about his part of Calvin. So thank you all.
Would you applaud for me? I'm used to applause. Thank you. Thank you. I am not Jeff Haverdank. My name is John Stritchfield. As Jeff said, I'm the artistic director of the Calvin Theater Company here at Calvin University, and I'm also the visiting lecturer of theater as well. I have been here for the last 4 years, and it's a very exciting time to be here and to do theater. 4 years ago, due to the pandemic, our theater minor, which was the last vestige of our theater program here, was unfortunately axed. And over the last 4 years, it's been my mission to bring that back. And I am proud to say that this fall, we are able to offer the theater minor once again. Applaud for that. That deserves the applause. But a little bit about what we do at the Calvin Theater Company and what our mission is. Our mission is we strive for excellence in theatrical production, guiding ourselves and our audience to insight into empathy for God's world through authentic and compassionate stories of diverse human experience. By articulating dramatic narratives through the lens of our Christian faith, the Calvin Theater Company seeks to aid our audience in developing insight into and empathy for individuals and cultures different from our own. The theater provides a space and time to welcome the stranger into our midst and to recognize ourselves in their stories. One common misconception that I have found in doing Christian educational theater for the last 10 plus years is that our audience often comes expecting to see an explicitly Christian show. Unfortunately, although theater as we understand it is roughly 2,000, 2,300 years old, going back to Greco-Roman theater, the Christian stories in that space are minimal, in that if we were to only focus on those, we could only tell a handful of stories over and over and over again. So our approach here is to instead not find explicitly Christian texts, but find ways in which we can interact with the text from a Christian perspective in order to educate ourselves, our students, and our audience about the nature of humanity, the nature of the world, the nature of the human condition. And I'm going to move my notes. As the artistic director of the Calvin Theater Company, it's my task every semester to create a faith focus. That's a unifying vision that gives our students and our staff something to row toward. It's a distinction between secular universities and Christian universities. Here at Calvin, we are able to explicitly talk about our faith, and that weaves through our entire worldview here. This year, our faith focus is found in 1 Peter, but in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you the reason for the hope you have, but do this with gentleness and respect. This, of course, Peter is telling us to give a reason for our faith in Jesus Christ, and I hope to do that with my students as well, that they have at least a reason to talk about their faith, their worldview, the reason they believe what they believe. But as it relates to this year, I was hoping we would always be prepared to answer our season theme, which is important questions, which are the questions of storytelling, specifically who, what, when, where, how, and why. Although this is out of order, you can see here we've addressed each one of these with our 6 productions for the year, which is good for even a full theater program. The fact that we're doing this as a minor is a little reckless. But no, it's not reckless. We are living within our means, but we are doing some very, very cool things. This fall, I am directing Much Ado About Nothing by William Shakespeare. Although it's on the bottom, it's the first in the list of order. Our second show as our main stage series is Birthday Candles by Noah Heidel, which is a smaller show that takes place here in Grand Rapids over the course of a single woman's life from the ages of 18 to 108. And you see her bake a birthday cake on stage over the course of an hour and a half as she goes through significant birthdays in her life. And then finally, we're concluding our main stage season with And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which we'll bring in a guest director for, as I'm only a one-man show here in the educational department, and we have an adjunct as well who's teaching them, so we like to bring in many guest artists. Our lab series, which we'll touch on in a moment, this season is 24-hour theater, all in the timing, and the CTC Musical Theater Cabaret. So what is this CTC? CTC stands for the Calvin Theater Company, which I think I've said a few times now. It is both a 2-credit class and a fully functioning theater company. I like to introduce it as the world's largest 2-credit class, because it was my mission 4 years ago that we had no longer had a theater minor. I wanted to give my students a theater minor experience, because you can take this class for credit, I believe, 3 or 4 times, but after that you can audit it infinitely. So every single semester I change the syllabus to touch on a different area of theater education, to give my students a theater minor experience. Now that we have a theater minor, I've started adjusting that to say theater major experience. We'll see if that remains to be true. CTC produces 3 main stage shows per year, which I've already addressed, and in 2024-25, our lab series will be largely directed and produced by our students, which is extremely cool. Students are involved in every aspect of production, from performing on stage to working backstage in stage management, soundboard, light board operation, helping to build paint, the set, constructing costumes, and more. So just to touch on some of the things that we have done here. 4 years ago, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and I was brought on, and I was just kind of told, hey, go make theater, but you can't use any of the spaces. So we had our students write original one acts, which we staged around the university and performed to staggered roaming audiences. So we had one in the chapel courtyard. I won't go through all 6. My time is limited. But as you can see, it was a lot of fun. Next, we did A Midsummer Night's Dream. We originally produced this in the spring of 2021 and then had to wait 9 months to put it up as our Nick Bottom got COVID. It's been a ride, folks. It's been a challenge, but we've gotten there in the end. That spring, we did These Shining Lives, which is a story of the Radium Girls, the women who worked at the Radium Dial Company and became poisoned by the radium that they were putting into their watches. It provided context for some of the labor practices that we have now. We also did the fall of 2022, I'm 2 years behind, The Importance of Being Earnest. I did not mention our spaces a little bit. Over in our main space is the Gazan Auditorium over in the Spoelhof Center, which has a full working turntable, which is unique to our space as far as educational spaces in this area. We're extremely blessed with that, but we also have a laboratory theater over there, which is the largest black box theater in this part of Michigan, which is to say it is a space that can be reconfigured to a number of different configurations. So we did The Importance of Being Earnest in the round. That is to say we had an audience on all 4 sides. It provides our students with an opportunity to do theater in different kind of venues or spaces. Our next was The Curious Savage in the fall. This was particularly special because this little guy here in the white shirt making a funny face is my son. So being able to get him on stage was a delight. The fall of 2023, 1 year ago, we hired on a full-time technical director with an MFA in set design and production, and he was able to configure this. This is actually our black box theater. This is not even the Gazan Auditorium, but we were able to fit a full 2-story set in there for Neil Simon's Rumors. And then our first foray into a lab series was Ghost Quartet, which was directed by 3 of our students and produced in the lab. As you can see, production values kind of went up with Josh Zietzi coming in. And then last year we did Little Women in the Gazan, and the university was kind enough to invest in our lighting infrastructure as well as providing a new cyclorama, it's called. It is a screen on the back there that we can do light projection and projections on. So we are advancing technologically, we're advancing educationally, and we are continuing to push the boundaries of theater here at Calvin University in order to fulfill the university's mission of being agents of renewal in the church and in the world, and every space needs that, particularly, in my case, the theater. So I will conclude my remarks as I conclude, Much Ado About Nothing. I'm directing Much Ado About Nothing in the fall, as I said. I have said it in 2004 in a mall, and we are having a ton of fun. As a millennial, I'm reliving my entire childhood and millennial nostalgia and whatnot, and it is a great deal of fun. That will be opening on November 1st. Now, that said, I will be concluding, as I conclude all of my classes, with questions, comments, witty criticisms. We will save those for later, though, so stew those in mind. If you have any witty criticisms, I'd appreciate it. So no one has burned me quite as bad as Sam Tuitt did a few years ago. So it's been a ride. So thank you very, very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christine Vermeer. Am I supposed to use the hand mic at all? No, just this. Great. Sorry. My name is Christine Vermeer. I'm the Studio Associate and Arts Collective Coordinator. I'm a Calvin alum. I graduated in 2020, and I've been working here for about a year and a half now. And I work in the art and design department, and that's where I spent most of my time as a student, so it's fun to be back there serving the university and the students. So as I said, I'm in the art and design department. We're nestled under the Department of Visual and Performing Arts. So a little bit about art and design first. Our programs and offerings are as follows. We have an art BFA, a graphic design BFA, studio art BA, and a K-12 education art major. And then we have graphic design and studio art minors. Our numbers are looking really good this year. We have around 130 students, which breaks into 93 majors and 37 minors. So our studios and spaces are the most important part of our department, aside from our students. So I'm going to take you on a little bit of a virtual tour through our studios to get an idea of how our students engage in learning and making. First is our design hub. This is where our graphic design students meet for class. They do a lot of their work on their own personal laptops. Sorry, can't hear me. Is that better? The first spot I'll take you to is our design hub. Our students take their graphic design classes here. They work on their laptops. We offer the Adobe Suite for free to all our students, which is really great because it can get expensive for our students. We have things like a photo studio for students to take pictures of their work, whether it's ceramics, their publications that they're making in their graphic design classes, or drawings or paintings. Having a photo studio is really important for students to document their work and share it online and in their portfolios. We have 5 graphic design classes that build on each other. Our graphic design program is growing a lot, and students are coming to Calvin for graphic design specifically now, which is very exciting. Oh, I should say the Design Hub was recently remodeled about 4 years ago. Next is our ceramics studio. We recently bought 11 wheels so that all our students could throw on the wheels at the same time. So that picture on the left is of all of our wheels. The picture on the right is of our kiln, our gas kiln named Jessie. In the ceramics process, you make your piece, you let it dry, you fire it once to a bisque fire, you glaze it, and then you fire it in the gas kiln for the glaze firing. So you can kind of get a sense of how big that is. We fire that 3 or 4 times a semester, so our students are making a lot of work. Next is our wood shop. We've been working really hard on getting this up to snuff over the past year. All of our senior students have to show in the gallery at the end of their degree, and all of them get to learn how to make a frame, at least one frame for their pieces. So Brent Williams, our gallery and exhibitions director on campus, teaches them all how to build frames, which is a great hands-on learning experience for them. The next space is the printmaking studio. We only offer intro to printmaking, but in that class, students learn letterpress and monoprinting. It's taught by our graphic design professor, so it's a really great way for them to learn kind of the history of graphic design. It started analog, and now they're learning the digital process, but it's great for them to get in the studio doing hands-on work. I often find that the printmaking studio is a great place for our art students and our graphic design students to come together to collaborate. The next space is our drawing studio. This was remodeled 2 years ago. We got a new stage and new lighting. It's great for when our models come in to have dramatic lighting so that students can learn all about shadows and different lighting techniques for drawing. And we also set up still lifes, as you can see in the image. The next space is photography. This was remodeled not this past summer, but the one before. We offer film photography as well as digital, and you can see an image of our photography professor, Jennifer Hoig, working with a student on one of her prints that just came out of the darkroom. And last space is the painting studio. We have so many students in painting this semester that it's like, you can see from this image, it's chock full. We've got paintings all over the walls, students in every corner. It's really exciting and a great way for them to learn from each other, get a lot of really great critique feedback from student to student. We teach oil painting only. Well, we instruct in oil painting, and students can branch off into acrylic and watercolor as they wish. On the right, you can see an image of our independent studios for intermediate and advanced students. They kind of get to take their learning on their own trajectory and really make the space their own. So as I said at the beginning, I'm also the Arts Collective coordinator, so that means I get to plan a lot of events for our Arts Collective, which is one of Calvin's cohort programs. So a little bit about the Arts Collective. This is a 2-year experience for arts-interested students of all backgrounds and majors. Students engage deeply with the arts through classes together, opportunities for making, enjoying social events, asking questions, and traveling. So the first kind of cornerstone of the Arts Collective experience is that we engage our students with place. First, we like to engage our students with the arts in Grand Rapids. We take them to Broadway Grand Rapids. Last month, we took them to the Grand Rapids Ballet. We've taken them on mural tours downtown, and we also take them to things like Art Prize and other events that are happening in town. That experience of place is coupled with an off-campus learning experience. So the Arts Collective program culminates in a May term trip during which students learn about the host city, create art pieces about their experience. So we find that this is a great way for our students to bond with each other, and they often end up coming to events after their sophomore year trip, which is technically the end of their Arts Collective experience, but they've become so close that they want to keep coming to events afterward, which is awesome. So engaging with arts events off campus is really great, but we also want to make sure our students are engaging with the arts on campus because we have a lot of offerings. So students are involved in at least one arts group on campus for a minimum of 2 semesters during their first 2 years at Calvin. This is a requirement for the program because we want to ensure that our students are engaging deeply with the arts. So they could be in choir, like campus choir or capella. They could be part of CTC. They could be part of the art club or work on dialogue, excuse me, dialogue staff, which is our arts journal. So there's lots of opportunities for them, and our students really love to be involved in these ways. They also regularly attend arts events on campus, such as CTC performances, Dance Guild, SAO concerts, and student ensemble performances. So here are some student testimonials. The first student says, "The Arts Collective is a really cool program where I could continue to be creative despite it having nothing to do with my major. It really created an opportunity for long-lasting friendships as art brings people together." And another student says, "I have loved my experience with the Arts Collective. I've made so many great friends and have deepened my love for art." And these images are of 2 mural making events that I planned. My goal is to always have 1 mural per year. These are both on campus. The first one is in Johnny's, and the second one is in the Calvin Theater Company lobby area. A student always designs the project, and we work on it together over the advising break in the spring semester. It's my favorite thing because I'm an artist. I paint, and I like to paint murals, so I really love planning that event for the students. So here are some numbers. We have 20 first-year students, 19 second-year students. We have 33 unique majors and concentrations, which when I was finding that number, I thought that was just crazy. We have 10 unique minors, 4 unique pre-professional programs, like students in pre-professional programs in our program. Our students come from 12 different states and 4 different countries. Oh, and that's it.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to shift to a different computer source here. So if you have any witty criticisms for John, this would be the opportunity. And let's see. This should go pretty straightforward. Ta-da. And ready, set, go. All right. Well, as I said, good morning to all of you, and I'm inspired hearing Christine and John share about what's going on in the theater and the Arts Collective and everything here. At Calvin, we have so much for which to be proud and so much for which to be thankful. as we consider the abundance of gifts. I call it the embarrassment of riches here at Calvin University, that in just 2 short months, I feel like I'm having an awareness of, as I'm a brand new faculty member here and making my way into this community for the very, very first time. I want to see what happens if I do this. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's see what happens if we do this. Here we go, and here we go. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Well, my goodness, you're a choir. You're fabulous. That's fantastic. That's all I need. I'm going to call that good for my presentation. Honestly, friends, this is for me what it's all about. It's all about that we through song, we can build community. And we can reach people and we can change lives. And there's just nothing quite like it. What happens in that choral rehearsal room is it's an experience of transformation and magic, and all the more so when we invite the Holy Spirit into the center of it all. For me, this is a little bit about me, and that's kind of what the purpose of my time will be today, is just to show you a little bit about me since I'm brand new to Calvin. That's my family, my wife Julie. We've got 3 kids. Jack is 11, Jordan's 7, and Lane is 4. You can imagine which one is in charge. It's not me. It's the 4-year-old. And we've just moved here from Ann Arbor, Michigan in July. Now we're just about 10 minutes from Calvin here in Grand Rapids, getting to know West Michigan. Now this guy on the right, my right, your left, that's also me. You might recognize him. He's a very handsome young man, middle school age. I call him middle school Mark. Notice the fashion, the long tie, the very nice sport coat. I'm wearing one of those today. And the other man in the picture there is, oh, by the way, the middle part was very popular in 1991. The man that you see there is John Goodman. I want you to see the picture of John Goodman because it's because of John Goodman that I'm standing here today. And I think many of you can think of someone who in your life has been that person that came along at that right time, that God used to kind of inflect something about seeing who you are and making something come alive in you. For me, it was John Goodman, who was relentless in saying, Mark, I want you to sing. You need to sing in choir. The only reason why he had any idea that I would be able to do that was because he was also the Spanish teacher at my middle school, and he taught us to conjugate verbs by singing. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. And that's how I learned to conjugate verbs in Spanish. And that's how he learned that I actually could hold a tune. Because I didn't want to sing in choir because I was interested in being the coolest kid in school. And no cool kid would dare be in choir. I've got a longer story in a different context I'll share with you someday about how he really got me on the hook. But let's just say he convinced me that being in choir was going to be not only fun, but something that was going to be worth my time. And trying to be the coolest kid in school was not that important. So I thank God for John Goodman. That John Goodman brought me into the choral world, and then that took me through an incredible high school choral music experience that ultimately landed me at St. Olaf College. And as a part of that experience, I got to sing under the incredible guidance of one of the most remarkable leaders in the choral world, who spent 10 years at this university, Dr. Anton Armstrong. And from 1980 to 1990, Anton was here and spent most of that time with campus choir, with the alumni choir, and at times worked with Capella. And it was a transformative decade for him, and he had a transformative impact on the choral landscape of Grand Rapids over the time that he was here. And I still hear the horror stories from Calvin alumni the day that he was called to take the job at St. Olaf College and conduct the St. Olaf Choir, because they said, "You cannot leave us. You can't leave us." Well, he did, and he's been there since 1990. And it's in 1997 when I met him and I started hearing all about this incredible place in Grand Rapids, Michigan called Calvin College, which is now known as Calvin University. So I've known about this place for a long time. Well, my career took me all sorts of interesting twists and turns along the way, and eventually made my way to the University of Michigan, where I served for the last 6 years as the Associate Director of Choirs. And while I was there, I had the incredible opportunity of directing the University of Michigan Men's Glee Club, which is one of the most significant tenor-based choral ensembles in the country, and was an incredible thing for me to learn about what it is to be a part of a great tradition, to be a part of a community that deeply values camaraderie and also holds in highest regard musical excellence. And I should say, when I was working with Anton prior, as an undergraduate student, it was learning about the beauty and power of the choral art. It was learning about the transformative ways that we can educate people to be whole people as artists, body, mind, spirit, and voice. It was instilled in me that we can be vigilant about pursuing the finest minutiae of detail of music making, and also care deeply about how we proclaim the gospel through music. And so suddenly here I am now at the University of Michigan, made my way to Ann Arbor with my family that you saw earlier in the slides, and I'm going, God, what do you have for me here? What's this going to be? What chapter of the story is this? And it was just an incredibly formative chapter. And during that time, when I also was able to squeeze in a doctorate at Michigan State University and added that to my education. And so I've got a little green and white and a little maize and blue in my heart. I know that's a weird thing in the state of Michigan, and now I'm getting maroon and gold, so it's all good, all right? But then all of a sudden, one of the great legends in the choral field, Pearl Sheng Kwan, made it known that she would be retiring from her role here at Calvin University. And I thought, I love this job. I love where I'm at. I love life in Ann Arbor. I'm so thankful for it. But I feel like I want to see what's possible here. And so I went through the process of applying for the job to come here to be at Calvin. And here I stand today by God's grace. And I think it's a specific thing for me, is this opportunity to be a part of a community in a place that is so distinctly unique to what Calvin University provides. And as I think about the opportunity to be kind of usher in a new era for the choral area here at Calvin, after standing upon the shoulders of incredible people who have gone before, students and faculty alike, I think about what it is to kind of infuse my spirit and passion into this place, which is to say that I want to see the arts as a catalyst, the choral arts in particular, as a catalyst for building community, for shaping young people to become who God has created them to be, body, mind, spirit, and voice. And I want to see us as an entire community of choral artists, all the faculty under one big tent, celebrating each other, lifting each other up, and creating space for students to find deep and meaningful belonging, and most of all, for equipping students to be lifelong music makers, whether it's as an amateur or as a professional. I'm so glad, and I was speaking with a couple of you just at the beginning of this time, that the music education major is back after it was unfortunately cut about 10 years ago. And it's such an important thing that is now reinvigorated as a priority. Because as we think about what it is to be participating with God, to help to usher in students who then become professionals out in the world, to be and participate in that way of being Christ's agents of renewal in the world, there's no greater way to do that than through the power of music education and sending teachers out into classrooms to be light And so that's a little bit about me, a little bit about what's coming up here at Calvin with our incredible choral faculty, Sean Ivory, who directs the oratorio chorus and alumni choir, Carrie Hooksema, who's brand new this year with me as well, directing women's chorale, and Nate Glasper, who's been here now in his 8th year as the director of gospel choir. We have what we call the extravaganza of choral music coming up, and you can join us in person or online for all of these concert offerings starting November 4th with Women's Chorale and Campus Choir. November 7th, Capella has a concert. Alumni choirs at Neeland Avenue CRC on November 10th, and then the gospel choir in the afternoon of November 10th. There's an abundance of things happening here in this place to celebrate. This embarrassment of riches I refer to is very real here at Calvin University, with almost 200 students participating in the choral music making here, and it's only going to grow. And that's my hope, my vision, my prayer for all that's to come. So thanks for being an audience to us, and I know now we're going to bring Jeff back up and all of us to do a Q&A. Let's see if you can remember. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. We'll let Mark switch that back again, but I hope you can all get a sense of why we were so excited to present this panel to you today, because if you haven't felt it yet, you will soon, that the arts are on the rise here at Calvin, and it's just super exciting, and we're just really, yeah, amen. Amen. So, all right, so we'll, now we're going to turn to a time of just question and answer here a little bit, right? So hopefully you've got some questions that are brewing in your mind. And I know Hannah's going to keep tabs on the online, and Ashley has the microphone. So we've got one mic that we'll share there in the audience, and then we'll just pass this amongst us here up on stage, if that's all right. So questions at all in the audience if we want to get started? Otherwise, I've got a few brewing here that we can get rolling with. All right, I'll go first. You follow my lead. So I just want to unpack a little bit, Christina, the Arts Collective, right? Like, I think that's it's been around for a bit, but I think as we think of Calvin as a liberal arts university and all the different majors and all the different focuses that we have for our students, like, can you unpack the collective a little bit? Because there are students coming from all types of disciplines, and just curious if you can share more about what attracts students to it and kind of how the blessing kind of pays back in their careers as they leave Calvin.
Great question. When I was a student here, I was actually a part of the Arts Collective. Back then it was called the Artist Collaborative. So yes, there's a little bit of a history. I think we started in 2014. We do attract students from all different majors, students that say, you know, I want to be an engineer, but I don't want to give up this creative kick that I have. I don't want to stop drawing. I don't want to stop talking about art. How can I do that? And I also don't have time necessarily to take the major, or the minor, or double major even. Well, the Arts Collective is a great opportunity for those students, no matter what they're interested in studying, because they get to take arts classes that go toward their core, so it doesn't take extra time for them. So that's one sell. The second thing is that they get to build deep community. They get to ask questions about, why do we create? Why is art important? Why is it important to be a Christian artist? And when I say artist, I mean all of the arts: dance, music, visual arts, theater, writing. So our students are just excited to come together, and also the interdisciplinary lean to it is exciting for them as well. What does it mean when a painter starts talking to a poet about why the arts matters in a Christian setting, or why the arts would matter in my future career as a biologist? Those are the questions they get to ask together, and it's really exciting for them.
Okay. Questions out there in the audience at all? Go ahead.
I have a bit of a vested interest in the arts. Minors were cut in the past, as was mentioned. One of those is dance. is there some plan afoot to bring back the dance program to Calvin? And then, Mark, another family matter, really. I have a future son-in-law that's interested in going into music education, choral. How many students do you have in that particular program right now? So I'm asking about dance and its future, and I'm also asking about, people in music education.
Dirk, I'm going to pick up the dance thing first. Is any of the three of the panelists aware of the dance program in particular?
I can speak to it a little bit.
Okay, we'll let John take that one.
Just the tiniest bit, so.
Yes, we have absolutely felt the absence of the dance minor, and though we have Dance Guild, which does terrific work, there are plans in place. There are advocates who are hoping to bring back an educational dance component. We do have, I believe, at least one teacher on campus still who oversees Dance Guild. And at the theater company, we absolutely need and want more dance components, especially as we will be producing a musical next season in the spring for the first time in, it's like 15 years since we've been able to produce a musical, and we were going to need dancers. So yes, there are plans. Whether or not those come to fruition, I think largely depends on financial and student interest implications.
The music ed major has, I think, made a comeback in a significant way, that we have 10 students who are already in declared majors in music ed. That's across disciplines. So there are of that 10, there are people focused on choral music ed. But to me, I think the distinctive of what we can particularly offer for prospective students to come and do music ed here at Calvin will only become more attractive in the years to come. And we are very fortunate to be in the midst of doing a faculty search right now for a full-time tenure-track music education professor. So this is a signal of significant investment, that this is not just well, let's try it. No, we're committing in a significant way. The university is committing in a significant way to help support this, which I think is incredibly encouraging. Yeah, lots of excitement there.
Amen. Okay, online questions. So thanks to the audience online. So here it is for the panel, and anybody can pick it, or multiple if you'd like. But the question is, in some Christian circles, the arts are looked upon with suspicion. Do you encounter that, and how do you deal with that?
I knew you wanted.
I know, I did, right? You could just sense it. I mean, historically, Christians have often met the theater with suspicion. A famous example of that is the artist Molière, who was not allowed to be buried on church property. He had to be buried above ground because he died on stage and never had the opportunity to confess the sin of acting. No, this is history. Look it up. So yes, and as a theater practitioner, I'm no stranger to suspicion and question, and even when we produced Little Women, which was intercut with hymns throughout, strong Christian messaging, I had a family who walked out because they were disgusted with one small choice in the script. You're going to face adversity no matter what, but what matters is that we know our perspective, and we know where we stand in our faith, and we know that we are children of God, and that we are agents of renewal, and that we follow after Christ Jesus. And when we can articulate that, when we can give an answer for why it is we do what we do, we are much more prepared to meet those questions when they come at us. Because although we can have disagreements in our faith, I think it's important to focus on those things that we have similar. And we let those dividing things become what defines us instead of what unites us. And at the Calvin Theater Company, we try to focus on those things that unite us and invite our audience to unite with us in our faith.
I look at the God we serve, who starts by creating. I look at the God we serve and am reminded that you and I and every single one of us, everybody on this planet is made in God's image, created. Creativity is at the core of who God is. As people who seek to honor God with our lives and create beauty and art in this world, it is a reflection of our Creator in all ways. And so the question is appreciated because it's a part of our society. Suspicion is a part of our societal DNA. It's an unfortunate reality because it doesn't necessarily reflect the God we serve, who is not a suspicious God, but is a loving God, and loves out of God's most generous creative spirit. And I think we get to kind of taste and see in a unique way as artists the way that we can connect as practitioners and as community builders through it. So suspicion, if it leads to curiosity, if it leads to a way of knowing more and deeper how we can love one another and love our God, then let's keep asking the questions. Keep going. It's going to be a better world if we find answers through art. I can guarantee you that.
Oh. Yeah, Ray, go ahead.
You did a nice rendition of this little light of mine. Most of us who graduated from Calvin years ago were maybe able to sing, but to put the clapping with it at the same time, we never got quite that far. Having said that, I appreciate your comments here. One thing that you could be creative about in all of your walks is think about, at Calvin we have a unique program called Calvin Academy for Lifelong Learning, abbreviated CALL. We have about nearly 2,000 members, half of whom are related to Calvin, and the other half are from the community, plus a lot of online. So as you're thinking and being creative about your work with students, remember that you have a whole cadre of lifelong learners, or somehow, if you could help us teach or be creative about how you could do a call class or just think about that. And we commend you all for being at Calvin. And I know Jeff will get in touch with you all about that because he's involved with that as well. So thank you for being here.
Ray, are you suggesting a call choir? Is that what you're suggesting? That's what I think I heard. He's going to be a part of it, I think. So, yeah. Advanced choir? Okay, that's good. They did it? That's true. All right, I think Ashley is on her way to another question here, so we'll give her a minute to get to Nancy there. All right, good.
Okay, I don't really have a question. I just have a comment. I can't thank you enough. We are fortunate to still have two of our youngest grandkids here, and I'm just thrilled that people like you are being a part of their life. And I think your passion and your Christian perspective just enhances what we want for all of the kids who are here. And we just give you our prayers and our thanks. We just can't do that enough.
Thank you, Nancy. Another question in the front. Maybe while Ashley's walking, John, just a question for you. I know that we've been blessed to have some investment back in the Gazan Theater, right? So the physical space got refreshed and revitalized. Just wondering a little bit from where you sit, right? You've been on a journey with COVID and building up the program. Just want to hear from you, how are you, trying to attract new students into the program, or what types of things are you working on to, get more students involved in the theater program? Anything in particular there?
Yeah. So part of my promotion from adjunct to visiting lecturer was a recruitment component, which is making connections with local high schools and trying to recruit students to the university. So I interpreted that as offer my services as a theater practitioner for free to local high schools. So this semester I've had the privilege of doing fight choreography for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe at Central Catholic High School in Grand Rapids. This week I taught an acting masterclass at Byron Center High School for 2 hours, and just making further connections with them as well, just to try to bring in more students to the minor, because again, my vision for what we can do here far outstrips simply a minor. Our program is 91 years old. And so with the benefits of having a 91-year-old program means we have all of the facilities of a full, thriving theater company and theater major. And so we can grow back into that shell. So 4 years ago when I began, I said I wasn't here to just help the last theater minors limp across the finish line. I was here to revive the theater minor. And although I certainly didn't do that by myself, to see that come to fruition so quick tells me that the vision for creating a bachelor's program of theater is not as much of a pipe dream as I might have intended, as I might have thought it was.
Question? Go ahead.
Well, actually, it's somewhat related to what he just talked about, in that, in listening to the number of students you have in your music program, 200, and the number of students at Calvin, I was actually kind of surprised it was that small. When my son went to college, about a week or two into the semester, he actually got called out by the football coach, and it turned out the football coach made a point of contacting every single student that had played football in high school and calling them out and asking them to come to a test, basically, to see if by chance maybe they missed somebody or they missed a ringer. And so my thought was, in listening to you and your comment, particularly on recruitment, plays right into that you may want to look first within your own student body for students who have the talent, who, unlike you, Mark, didn't get someone to ask them to participate. I mean, all of us experienced that. I think I was in 9th grade when a coach came up to me and said, "Freddie, we need you to run track." And I said, "I'm not very good at it." And he said, "Of course you're not good at it. You won't be good until you're a senior. But you got to start now." But my point is, I just wonder if you have thought of an aggressive recruitment program, not only with outside the school, but within the school too. I just thought.
So something that happened quite recently with the changes in core was that our studio classes became classes that counted toward student score. So a lot more students suddenly started taking our art and design classes. And through that, we've gained more and more students in our programs because of that. They take one drawing class and they say, "You know what? I think I have room to take a few more." And then they take a few more, and then they take a few more, and suddenly they can declare their major. So yes, recruiting from within is super important. You know, like, people need to remember that connecting with the arts is like an intrinsic, innate thing that we all should be doing. Maybe some people connect to it more than others. But giving students the opportunity to do that, like really low stakes, was a really great way for our department to start building. So, I don't know, just one view on that.
Yeah, our classes being added as core classes has certainly helped. We at CTC participate in coaxing clubs every semester in order to hit some students, but also just changing the conversation around the arts from a societal perspective is so important. Just because for so long you're told that arts really aren't important, they're not going to make you money, so therefore they're not important. So I've had more students than I can even remember who've taken an acting class or taken Theater 120 or taken performance studies who are seniors and graduating and will say, "I was never told that I could do art. I didn't know that this was important to pharmaceuticals. I didn't know that I could be creative." And it guts me, like because I've my entire life the arts were always a part of my education. So yes, we do need to be more intent on recruiting from within. So I would call upon all of you as well, those of you who know, to stress the importance of engaging with the arts. So please help us.
One of the things that I really resonate to with what you said and suggested is it starts here. It starts right here, right? And there are 3,600 students a part of this campus community, and I think at the core of the liberal arts experience is to create inroads to be as diverse and as multidisciplinary as possible in your educational experience. And in the choral area, and I want to make sure I clarify, I'm just talking about 200 people involved in choirs. In the music department, there's a lot more, right? Bands, orchestras, there's a ton of students. So, last year we had 9 students in the campus choir, 9. And currently we have 70. And it's only because of that very intentional invitation to reach out on campus to the people that are already here. Because I wasn't recruiting for Calvin last year, I was recruiting for the University of Michigan. But I knew there's no doubt in my mind, this is Calvin University. There are people, these are students who grew up singing, whether they grew up singing choral music, I don't know about that. That's not really as common in churches anymore. But if they come from a church background, and still to this day a majority of our incoming students do, they sing, and they sing in community settings. So it's there. There's low-hanging fruit. We just got to go pick it. But then I think even more so is this to kind of reconnect with great intentionality to the Grand Rapids area, and then the regional area, doing the things that John is describing, and really building bridges out. I think a lot of times, and I've heard this as a criticism, I think it might be fair, you all might be able to speak to this more than I can, but I've heard that Calvin can feel a little insular. And I think that there is a perception sometimes that it's not as accessible if you're not a part of a certain community. And how do we absolutely blow that misconception up? Because that's not true. There's a place here for you, for your student, for your grandchild, for anybody that wants to come and have a rigorous educational experience in a liberal arts environment that is also at a distinctly Christian university. And we have something that I think is just truly unique to offer. And that's the story that needs to be told in a new way, with new energy and vision and commitment, as we think about the future and what this university can become. That's very exciting to me.
Ashley in the back there, go ahead.
I have a question about the education program in the arts and your quest for students. Is there also an emphasis on teaching the music students or art students how to be teachers? I would assume that one of your desires also, or our desires, is to spread the good news of the arts. Many of these students will probably be going into teaching. Not everybody's going to be a performer or a major in performance. So how much of your emphasis is going to be on teachers teaching how to be teachers?
So I'll speak to art education. Our students that are education, K through 12, art majors, are in the education program. So they take education classes, they learn how to be great teachers. And I've also witnessed some of the students, some of the art ed students that I know personally in the department, they've come to some of my workshops or just like events where we're creating with other students that I've put on. You know, I'm supposed to be teaching students how to make things, but then the art ed students will just like kind of take the reins a little bit and say, hey, like, let me teach you how to do this technique, so-and-so. They'll come up right next to somebody and teach them personally. So I'm seeing like firsthand their teaching skills being put to use, which is really fun. So yeah, they take the art education classes, or the education classes, they have 2 or 3 specific art ed classes, and then the rest of their degree will be basically an art major, so all of the art studio classes that they have to take. So it is pretty rigorous. They have to take a lot of courses to make sure that they're excellent in their craft and in their teaching.
I try to, here, do you have something first? I
Sure.
lost what I was saying.
That's all right. Yep. I think I've already spoken a bit to the reemergence of the music ed program and how central that is to our department's vision moving forward is teaching teachers and doing it with excellence and equipping them to then go and do likewise. And I think in so many ways, it's also one of our greatest recruiting tools. When you have a great teacher, where did you go to college, right? I mean, how many times does that happen? And I go, oh my gosh, we've missed out on a generation of music educators to send them out to say, you gotta go to Calvin, right? Because then they build beautiful programs wherever they're planted, and that's a incredible way to kind of keep that energy alive. You see that oftentimes how that serves an institution when the ambassadors of the institution serve as teachers in communities, how valuable that is to kind of perpetuate the excellence moving forward. So that's an opportunity to continue to focus on as well.
I remembered. Sorry, I got distracted. I was like, ooh, lights. The theater is a distinctly unique performing art in that you have the capacity to be intergenerational and you can work with people of all different ages. And when I'm training an actor, somewhere in the back of my mind, I have to be constantly thinking of there's a chance you and I audition for the same role and you beat me. So knowing that as I am educating these people, I'm educating my future colleagues. Like I'm working with people who I want to work with. And so providing them with the tools of empathy, with understanding, with just being able to be affable and to do their work with integrity and dedication and excellence as a living sacrifice unto the Lord. Not every single person who comes through the Calvin Theater Company is going to go into education, is going to be a teacher. However, it's my hope that they'll pick up the tools that they need to be active listeners, that they will pick up the tools they need to be able to commit wholeheartedly to whatever it is that they are doing, whether that's education or engineering, or I said pharmaceuticals. Like if you're working in a pharmacy at Rite Aid, I want you to be able to be the kind of person who is a lifelong student, is always willing to listen, but is also a lifelong teacher, someone who's willing to transmit their knowledge to someone else.
All right, I think we've got time for one more because we started a few minutes late. So I think the front row. Marie, did you have a question? Yeah. Last question.
I was going to mention about how much, again, we appreciate the music education program starting up again. We appreciate your vision, and I was going to ask about recruitment because the word among music teachers was, did you know that there's like 5 times as many students in the campus choir? And that gentleman also talked about recruitment. I have a children's choir that just sang Helen Kemp's, well, actually Michael Bedford's, but Helen Kemp's words, Body, Mind, Spirit, and Voice. So what you said about teachers like Anton and Pearl and all those people, it is going out in the community too. Just my next question, or twofold questions. Do you have any more plans to do any collaboration with Anton again? And secondly, I was wondering about all the choirs that you directed at U of M. Do you have any plans for, I mean, you're certainly ahead of the game already, but do you have any plans for some other choirs that you are looking, a men's glee club, as you said, or different choirs like that?
Yes, it's fun to have my mentor and really like surrogate family member be someone who is so highly cherished here in Anton Armstrong. And I just feel like he's one of the angels on my shoulder speaking into my ear as I do my work. And I've always felt that way. So yes, I mean, my hope is that all of my living predecessors will always feel celebrated and welcomed here and honored for the work that they've given to this university. And so if there are ways to bring them in to have them up and make music with us again, like I want to always create those avenues. I think it's really important. And part of what keeps us all connected over the years. As far as choral ensembles at Calvin, beyond what currently exists, I want to keep nurturing what currently exists and keep cultivating that. But I want to create, what I'm thinking of is like little projects that come up. So for example, I want to create an opportunity for every tenor and bass on this campus to come and learn some music together. So maybe we just come and learn 2 or 3 songs. And then that starts to plant seeds and you say, oh my gosh, that's really fun. Let's do more. Because if the students start to taste it and go, oh, that was awesome, we want to do more of that, then you can really start to justify the creation of a new ensemble. So I think it's about pacing, and I kind of have a long view of my hopes for how this can all unfold, of ways that in the midst of kind of our core curricular choral ensembles, that there can be offshoots of opportunity for different kinds of choral music and vocal music making, ranging from vocal jazz to contemporary a cappella to different chamber music, singing, and opportunities in tenor bass spaces or treble voice spaces and the like. So, and also supporting the work of the campus ministries and chapel services. And we've already been very active in trying to reconnect some of those things too, building bridges with Pastor Mary, Pastor Paul, and the incredible work they're doing in the chapel to serve our community. So, lots of ways, indeed.
Well, for all those that are here and watching online, I hope you sense, again, the energy and the excitement and the new life that is being born right in front of your very eyes. We have equipped you with great knowledge, and we just need you now to act justly and go out and spread the good news that the arts programs at Calvin in all facets are emerging anew, and that we have some really cool things that are just beginning to get started, and I cannot wait to see where all of this goes, because there are some great days ahead of us, and the energy level is high. So I want to have you all help us thank our 3 panelists again for joining us today. I want to thank everybody watching online from all points around the world for joining us remotely. We're excited to do this, and we missed you here at Calvin, but know that things in Grand Rapids today are bright, beautiful. It's a gorgeous day, and we hope that you can come visit soon. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at concerts and shows and some of the expositions that are happening around campus through the rest of the year. So we'll see you there for sure. So have a great morning.